Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So some big news in the world of boxing. Canelo Alvarez is now officially a free agent. According to reports, he has parted ways from both Golden Boy Promotions and also Dazn. Now obviously I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really speak too much in regards to the grievances Canelo had with Golden Boy and Dazn. Ultimately, I'm not surprised that Canelo has parted ways with both companies. However, I am kind of surprised that he's left in the way he has. I thought this would be dragged out in court and it could go on for a long time. But obviously that's not the case, and yeah, it appears that Canelo is now a free agent. Obviously people are now speculating in regards to Canelo Alvarez's next move, whether it be in regards to a promotional company or a TV network. But from what I see online, the initial reports are indicating that Canelo is actually in talks and in negotiations with Caleb Plant. Obviously Caleb Plant is the IBF super middleweight champion. As I said, according to reports, that fight is now in negotiations and the date that's been penciled is December the 19th. Apparently, from the reports I read, if this fight does get finalised, it's more than likely to be in Texas, which really isn't a surprise, as obviously Texas is home to a large Hispanic community, and I'm sure they'll go out to support Canelo. Right now in Texas, they are allowing crowds at sporting events. We saw that with Tank Davis and Leo Santa Cruz. There were people attending that event, so yeah, Texas makes sense to me. And the Caleb Plant fight for the IBF super middleweight title, I think it's a pretty decent fight. Certainly more than what I was expecting from Canelo this year, so I will take it. Caleb Plant, a pretty good boxer, stick and move type of guy, nice jab, nice movement. Caleb Plant is a pretty good fighter, but quite frankly I don't really see Caleb Plant beating Canelo. I think Plant can give Canelo issues early on, with that movement, with that jab, with the distance control. I certainly believe he can trouble Canelo in the early rounds, but like I said, I don't really expect Caleb Plant to beat Canelo over a 12-round fight. Obviously, you've got the judging angle to where even if Caleb Plant does sort of beat Canelo in a close-ish fight, he's not going to get the decision. And with Caleb Plant, to me, I've always been uncertain on his gas tank in the championship rounds. You know, watch that Porky Medina fight. He was doing really well in that fight, and he kind of flagged in the last 2-3 rounds. Also in the Jose Uzcategui fight, the same thing, doing really well, but again, kind of flagged in the championship rounds. So yeah, all in all, I think Caleb Plant is a pretty good opponent for Canelo, especially given the fact that I wasn't expecting to see Canelo fight at all this year. But yeah, I don't think Caleb Plant's the guy to beat Canelo, to be honest. But it is what it is. And yeah, it's interesting in regards to the future of Dazn. What happens with Gennady Golovkin? Obviously, they signed Gennady Golovkin with a view to having that third fight with Canelo Alvarez. That was the whole selling point for Gennady Golovkin to sign with Dazn. You know, he signed with Dazn to get that third Canelo fight. What's going to happen with Gennady Golovkin at Dazn? Will he follow a similar path to Canelo Alvarez and actually leave Dazn? How does this affect Gennady Golovkin's contract with Dazn? Again, I'm not a lawyer, I've not seen any contracts, but I've heard a few reports that Gennady Golovkin signed with Dazn on the promise that he would get a third Golovkin fight. If that's now not happening, where does Golovkin's future lie right now? Will he stick with Dazn or will he part company? Again, with Dazn right now, particularly in the US, they're not really in a great financial situation. They are not putting all that much content out there. They've not really been putting on any boxing cards anyway. And, you know, Gennady Golovkin's on a big wage. A massive guarantee per fight. I think he's got a $14 million guarantee per fight. That's a lot of money right now, especially in these times. I think that's part of the reason why they've let Canelo leave, because the guarantee was just too much. They tried to get him to take a pay cut. He seemed unwilling. And yeah, maybe that was part of the reason why Canelo was allowed to leave. Will Golovkin now be in that same situation? Will Golovkin consider his future at Dazn? If he stays at Dazn, what's available for him? A unification fight with Demetrius Andrade? While as a boxing fan, I love that fight. It's a great fight. But it's not really that mega fight that Golovkin's after. It's not that third Canelo fight, is it? Maybe he could go up to 168 and challenge the likes of Billy Joe Saunders or Callum Smith. those could be viable options for Gennady Golovkin, especially Billy Joe Saunders, because that guy ultimately is a middleweight campaigning at 168. So it's going to be very interesting to see where Gennady Golovkin goes from here. If he stays at Dazn, obviously they're going to have to change their strategy in regards to Golovkin and how he has moved from this point forward. It doesn't only affect Golovkin. What about Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders? These guys basically, let's be honest, they've been sitting on their asses waiting for Canelo to call and get that fight. In the meantime, they've not been fighting, they've been doing nothing. So these guys now have to make a move. The Canelo fight for these two guys looks further away than it ever has been. So maybe Eddie Hearn, Silver Spoon Eddie, needs to make that fight between Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith. A unification fight between two unbeaten British fighters. That's a big fight in the UK. There's no reason why that fight shouldn't have happened already, to be honest. Now Canelo is further away, there's no excuses now. Get that fight made, Eddie Hearn. Callum Smith versus Billy Joe Saunders, a unification fight at 168. That's what we need in that division. But yeah, as for Canelo, it's going to be interesting to see how he maps out his future career. Is he just going to sign with a network and remain a free agent promotionally, kind of like Floyd Mayweather at Showtime towards the end? I think that could be the best route for Canelo at this point. A lot of people are talking about Canelo signing with Fox Sports in the US. Signing with Fox would actually make certain fights easier to make. Caleb Plant, for example, which they're talking about. David Benavidez, which would be a big fight. Jamal Charlo, of course. There would be fights for Canelo at Fox Sports. But yeah, big news in the sport of boxing. This news does not only affect Canelo, but it affects the trajectory of a lot of fighters' careers at 160 and 168. So it's going to be interesting to see the ripple effect of this news with Canelo leaving DAZN and Golden Boy. Because Gennady Golovkin, like I said, where does he go now? Where does Callum Smith go? Where does Billy Joe Saunders go? What happens with Demetrius Andrade? You know, there's a lot of interesting things that are affected by this news about Canelo leaving DAZN and Golden Boy. But yeah, share your thoughts below. What do you make of this news? What do you make of the potential fight between Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant? And long term, where do you believe Canelo will sign to? Do you think he'll sign a promotional contract with anybody, or just a TV network deal with someone like Fox, Showtime, or even ESPN? Share your thoughts below. Peace.